Oh, hello, and welcome to another exclusive episode of Reading with Drew. I'm Drew, by the way, if you didn't know by now. We're reading Perloo the Bold by ABI. Okay. And we're getting towards the end of the book. See? There's only a few chapters left. There's almost a battle or a challenge about to take place. And I think it'll be between Perloo and Cineas. So, but chapter 29 is what we're on today. And it is called Lucabara in the Cell. All right, so let's do it. At the bottom of the Central Tribe burrow, Lucabara made arrangements to dig out of the cell. First, she posted Rembury by the door, getting her to press both her ears against it, trusting she would be able to pick up any sound of guard activity beyond. Then she led 4 of the strongest prisoners, including Chef Fergink, up against the wood paneling as far from the door as possible. There must be some board with a crack, Lucabara said. We need to find it. Though it took a while, a crack was found. Lucabara placed her 3 companions next to it, then attempted to wedge her fingers and claws in. It was difficult, frustrating work, poking and prying, pulling at bits and pieces of the wood. Lucabara struggled until her paws became numb. Then another took over, and another. A few pinched fingers, a cracked claw, as well as a fair number of splinters resulted. But bit by bit, the crack was enlarged. When it was big enough, Lucabara got them to pull at the crack itself, spreading it wide enough to squeeze a paw behind it. Got it, she cried, managing to get a grip behind the board. Bracing herself, she heaved back. I need someone else to get behind this too. Quickly, or my paw will be crushed. Fergink jammed his large paw into the crack to ease the pressure. Now pull! A breathless Lucabara called. All 3 hauled back. The board began to bow. It's going to crack, someone cried. Is there a guard out there? Lucabara called to Rembury. Hold on, Rembury replied. She pressed her ears against the door. He's taking his turn. He's drawing closer. Now he's hopping away. He's away from the door. Go! Yank! Lucabara cried. With 8 paws gripping the board, it bent farther and farther until, with a sudden snap, the board split in 2. All heads turned toward the door. I don't think the guard heard, Rembury said. He's still hopping up and down. Lucabara examined the hole in the paneling that had been made. See, she whispered with excitement. Nothing but dirt behind. She gave the earth a scratch. It crumbled with ease. This shouldn't be hard to dig. The prisoners worked to enlarge the hole, trying to make it big enough to allow real burrowing. That should do, Lucabara finally announced. Enough wood was gone so that one of them could squeeze in. Who's a fast burrower? She asked. Chef Fergink, flexing his powerful arms, hopped forward. Let me give it a try, he said. He pulled his arms from his smock and used the sleeves to tie it round his pot-belly. Setting himself before the hole, he squared off his feet, leaned forward, and began to burrow furiously. As the dirt poured from the hole, the other prisoners piled it in a corner of the cell. Fergink dug so quickly his whole head and upper body was soon leaning into the hole. Still, the earth continued to pour out. In short order, Fergink's long feet stuck out from the hole. Within moments, he disappeared. It wasn't long before he poked his head out, his face, whiskers, and ears begrimed with dirt. I've made room for another to burrow, he announced, and dove back into the hole. One of the other prisoners followed him in. The dirt began to gush from the hole at twice the rate it had before. Those in the cell were hard-pressed to haul it away. Fergink popped out. Room for another, he called back. A third scrambled into the hole. The next time Fergink appeared, he was grinning broadly. Lucabara, he called in an excited but low voice. We've hit wood. She bounded up to him. It must be the next cell, she said. Let me in. Fergie backed up, and Lucabara drew herself into the hole. A rough tunnel had been made. Even so, there was plenty of room for Lucabara to crawl forward until she reached the wooden wall of the adjacent cell. Did you hear anything from inside there? She asked. Just some talking, Fergie said. Doesn't amount to much. Lucabara put near to the wall and heard the quiet murmuring. Lifting a paw, she rapped smartly on the wood. The voices stopped instantly. Lucabara pressed her mouth close to the wood. Can you hear me in there? She called. At first, there was only silence. Then, from the other side came a small, cautious, Who's that? Rescue, Lucabara replied. We're Berwick's prisoners, too. We've burrowed over from the cell next to you. We need you to join up. Well, okay. Listen closely, she continued. We're going to push against the wood. You'll see it bulge. Help us by pulling in on it. We need to break through. Fine, came the response. We're ready. Lucabara looked to Fergink and the other burrowers. Lend a paw, she said. The three others positioned themselves next to Lucabara. Together they began to push against the paneling. Gradually, a whole section of the wood began to bend and buckle until it broke into the room with such suddenness that Lucabara tumbled onto the floor of the cell. She looked up. A room full of prisoners was gazing down at her. After dusting herself off and helping Fergink hop into the cell, Lucabara informed the prisoners about what was happening in the world outside. She also told them her plan to gather all prisoners together, arm themselves, lead an uprising in the Central Tribe Borough, then dispose Gumpel before the army returned from the war. It's risky, a prisoner pointed out, but I'm for it. Stay here and we'll just rot, the other prisoners agreed. By the time Lucabara got back to the central cell, work was already progressing on breaking through to the cell on the other side. The process was the same as before and just as successful. It was not long before almost 50 prisoners had joined together. The question then became, what next to do? I think, suggested Fergie, we should just beat the door down and make a hop for it. I'm not so sure that's wise, Rimber said. The noise will bring other warriors. Better wait until someone comes in. Then we can overpower them with ease. This plan was agreed upon. While the prisoners set about to wait impatiently, another of them kept his ears against the door, listening. Shh, he finally cried. All heads turned toward him. I think they're bringing food. To either side of the door, Lucabara urged. They mustn't see us when they come in. Hop it! It was a mad scramble as the prisoners leaped into position. All became quiet, save for nervous breathing and the twitching of ears. The door opened. Two warriors, one carrying a bowl of moldy bread and the other a pike, peered in. Seeing no one, they became puzzled and took another hop into the room. No sooner did they than there was a great shout from the prisoners. Taken by surprise, the armed warrior had his pike ripped away by Fergink. Lucabara was at the open door. Follow me, she cried, and began bounding down the hallways. Pouring from the cell, the freed prisoners began hopping madly after her. There's gonna be a jailbreak. Or however the song goes. So, they busted out. They band together and they busted out. But most of all, Lucabara told the other prisoners about what's going on. So now, like, this group of rebels, like, probably know about Perloo in this situation. So that's good, because then when Perloo comes and they join the things together, they'll have more supporters because of Lucabara and the prisoners. So Ooh, it's getting pretty good, I gotta say. I kind of changed Ferging's voice a little. I don't know. He's a chef. He should sound like a anyway. All right. So just a few chapters left. The next one is the army's meat. So I'm excited. It's getting towards the end. Woo! Here we go. So, yep, just a few chapters. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. What else do you want from me? I mean, I can read the next chapter, but you'll have to watch the next video. So, go and do it then if you want to find out more. Ask me from in the future me when I read it.